What's happening, boys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to your Raw review. Today was a bit of a mid-episode, I'm going to be honest, but let's get into it. The episode kicked off with an angry Roman Reigns. He storms the building and he's demanding for Jacob Fatu, but instead of Jacob Fatu, he bumps into Seth Rollins, and I'm like, ooh. We love that interaction. I think most people who see that interaction nowadays are like, this is leading to something. So either we're going to get a Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns match at some point down the line, which I would not mind, or he might help Roman in some sort of way, but I don't think that's going to happen. And then we had what should have been a Seth Rollins promo, but as he's coming down the ramp to the ring, Braun Breaker strikes and he hits him from behind and he absolutely brutalizes him, completely blindsides him, beats him up on the ground, throws him against the barricade. He does a gorilla press onto the barricade, right above, drops him on his head, and this is brutal. This was a pretty good fun segment. I like this. They're separated by security guards, but you can tell that Braun Breaker has seen red, and there's more to come. And then we had a backstage segment between Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan is questioning Roxanne's loyalty to the Judgment Day at this point. She's seen what she's seen on Netflix last week, that Finn Balor got into the clubhouse and that he has been in cahoots with Roxanne Perez, potentially. And Roxanne's like, no, I'm loyal. I'm totally loyal to the Judgment Day. And Liv's like, we'll see about that. So I can definitely see this being Roxanne's face turn at some point and probably lead to a title match between her and Liv. And you never know, Roxanne might take the title off her. And then Roxanne had the perfect opportunity to prove her loyalty to the Judgment Day as Finn Balor took on JD McDonough in a really fun match with a little bit of a scary spot in the middle. Finn Balor and JD McDonough hit a Spanish fly and Finn Balor landed on the back of his neck. It looked pretty nasty. Not sure if it was a botch, but it did look nasty. But yeah, the match was actually really good at them. And I'm glad to see that JD McDonough is finally getting a bit of spotlight. I think that's 2 single matches in 2 weeks. Like, he's been kind of going off ever since the ladder match at WrestleMania. They're giving him a chance, which I do not mind. The end of the match was pretty fun as well. Roxanne Perez had the perfect opportunity to prove her loyalty to the Judgment Day, as Dominic Mysterio had been ejected for multiple antics during the match, and it was down to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Liv Morgan takes a hammer and distracts the referee and then tosses it to Roxanne Perez, and Roxanne Perez has the opportunity to end the match, essentially. Finn Balor's like, what are you doing? And then he gets clocked in the chin or the neck. I'm not sure what it was, but it allows JD to have the opportunity to win the match with a headbutt. And yeah, honestly, a big win for JD. That is something we're disregarding here, but that is a huge win for JD. But the thing I want to focus on is Roxanne's turn. I think she's done this probably just to stay on side with the Judgment Day, to keep them guessing, thinking she's loyal, and then she'll turn at some point when they least expect it. That's what I'm thinking. And then we had a fun match between Rusev and Ethan Page versus Penta and Javon Evans, and this one was a bouncy match. There was a lot of high flying all over the bit. Javon Evans was flying every chance he got, and Rusev's style even proved quite effective in this match, even though he's more of a brute style and he's more of a technical wrestler compared to a high flyer. Somehow it worked, and the chemistry weirdly between Ethan Page and Rusev was kind of cool to watch. These kind of had a good dynamic going on. They don't like each other, but they worked well, which is kind of fun. I think one of the coolest spots in this match was definitely Page swiping the apron from Penta's legs when he went for a high-flying move. It was a very smart, innovative move. And then to end the match, Rusev hits Penta with a big slam onto the announce table, rolls him back in, and Ethan Page does this fisherman suplex, and he pins the IC champion. That is the most important thing I want to talk about here. Ethan Page has pinned Penta. He is in the right to go and say he's number 1 contender or he deserves a match. He's fully in the right to say that now. He has pinned the champion. And I want to see where that goes, because I could see them putting the IC Championship on Ethan Page at Backlash in maybe a Fatal 4-Way, and maybe Penta doesn't have to take the pin. Maybe Javon Evans or Rusev could take the pin, but this match was fun, definitely fun. And then we had Sol Ruka sign her Raw contract. She is officially a Raw member, and she's here to change the game, and then Becky Lynch interrupts, and I'm like, oh, we're getting Sol Ruka in an IC Championship picture. I see, what I see. And then Becky's like, you've interrupted my slot, this is my slot, why are you here? And she's like, I know you're new here. And then Sol's like, I've heard a lot about you, and she says she's a bitch, and that's pretty funny. I'm like, damn. And then she hits her with the Times Magazine saying it, the Bleacher Report saying it, hits her with Becky's catchphrase, basically. And yeah, I was like, okay, this could be a really fun feud, because I think these two will work really well together. And then we had an interesting moment. Adam Pearce gets punched in the face by Becky Lynch, incidentally, didn't mean to. Soul Worker dodged it. And she goes for the soul snatcher, and brother, it's a nasty soul snatcher. She botched it completely, but then she saved it, and I mean, I guess she gets away with one, but that's gonna stick in my mind for a couple days. But yeah. It was a botched soul snatcher, but she did save it. But she stands tall, and she's in an IC championship picture, which I really do like. And then we had another Joe Hendry concert, and honestly, I'm gonna be real, this just feels like recycled crap to me, just copy and pasted from last week. Oh, it worked last week, so we'll do it again. Fire Logan Paul. It's a good song, don't get me wrong, but it just felt recycled. Like, it just didn't hit for me the same way it hit last week, because it was unexpected last week. This week it's the exact same thing. Logan Paul comes out, oh, you're firing me, blah blah blah, you can't fire me. And then this time they attack Joe Hendry, and it leads to the match between Austin Theory and Joe Hendry. The match is completely mid, nothing happens. Logan Paul attacks Joe Hendry, leading to a DQ win for Joe Hendry. And they beat him up the exact same way they did last week. The Street Profits come out, and you see what I mean? This is just becoming recycled crap every single week with the Street Profits coming out for the save. The one part that was interesting about this is Braun Breaker comes out, and he's like, okay, he's going to deal with the Street Profits. If you can't get your lackeys to do it yourself type thing. Then Seth Rollins comes out and gives Braun Breaker a beating and takes him out. That got a little bit more interesting, but then Braun Breaker gets the upper hand on Seth Rollins because Montez Ford hits the most insane flip over the top rope and over the post into the Vision. And it was pretty good, but Seth Rollins takes his eye off the ball and gets speared maliciously, and Braun Breaker stands tall, so I don't know what's going to happen there. I think Braun Breaker is going to win the Backlash match, because why wouldn't he? A recycled segment, in my opinion, turned quite fun at the end because of Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. And then we had Obafemi's Open Challenge, and like I expected, it's just a jobber that comes out. The Alpha Academy comes out, and it's Akira Tozawa, who's like, you're gonna feel the power of Tozawa, like, you ain't gonna survive. And I knew, like, see if Tozawa stepped in the ring, Obafemi was finished. Like, he would have took him out in a millisecond. Like, it would have been done for Obafemi. Like, Tozawa is all-powerful, and we all know this. But luckily for Obafemi, Tozawa stepped down and Otis stepped up. For his troubles, he got absolutely mauled by Obafemi. Obafemi and Otis kind of looked fair at the start. They looked like they were clashing a bit. They both looked kind of equal to each other. And then Obafemi came out of the air like a missile and hit Otis with this flying uppercut. It was insane. Sent him halfway across the ring. And that was it for Otis. Otis then gets javelin launched, essentially. Like, he picked up like a 300-pound man like he was nothing and launched him across the ring. And then he hit the fall from grace, which was highly impressive, because that is a big man to get up for the fall from grace. And yeah, Obafemi wins, and it's just as expected. This Obafemi Open Challenge is just going to be jobbers until someone big steps up, I assume, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. And then we had a really fun match between El Grande Americano and Friends and El Grande Americano OG. And pals, that's what I'm going with, because I'm just not naming them all, I'm sorry. But yeah, it was a really fun match between these lot. Julius Creed and Brutus, they hit a really nice combo during this match. A lot of high flying, where Julius hit a suplex off the top rope, and Brutus hit a flying moonsault off the top rope. It was pretty cool, really cool sequence. El Grande Americano OG picks up the win. That's Chad Gable, for anyone who doesn't know, allegedly. But yeah, it was a good match. A lot of high flying, which I did enjoy, and the dynamic actually really worked. It was a lot of fun wrestling, because obviously none of these are actually luchadors. It was all their technical wrestling styles as their normal characters, and it worked really well in a luchador setting, which, I don't know, it was really fun. I enjoyed this match, although I think this feud should stay on Triple A. I really enjoyed this match. And then it was main event time, where Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns were going to sign their Backlash contract for their World Heavyweight Championship match. And yeah, this was an interesting promo. It was basically like Roman Reigns saying that he could feed all the families in the bloodline, while Jacob Fatu is focusing on his own, so he's being greedy essentially. and that he used the Tongan death grip, and that was a sacred move, and that's only for when you're in desperate situations where maybe an 8-on-1 bar fight and you have to pull it out, because basically he explained it's where you take the trachea and you basically just squeeze it until you can't breathe, which sounds brutal. If like a person in real life did that, I think that would actually be devastating to whoever they do it to. So I can understand the implications of how dangerous it is in WWE and kayfabe. But yeah, a really interesting segment, and then Jacob Fatu comes up and he's like, he is desperate, he wants everything for his family. Kind of said what he said in the last couple of episodes, but then out of nowhere Roman goes, he owns this is his game, this is like, he's the top of the mountain, in this world Jacob will always be below, and that's what snaps Jacob. He snaps in, he sees red, and he goes straight for the throat. He goes in with that Tongan death grip, and Roman's ready for it this time. He hits him over the head, and he gets him with maybe an eye gouge, I'm pretty sure it was. And then he goes for the Superman punch, but Jacob catches him in the Tongan death grip. Again, a really cool counter, actually. Puts him in the corner, chokes him out, and Roman grabs Adam Pearce, and you can see, like, he almost like his life's flashing before his eyes. And he's trying to get Jacob off him, and then Jacob hits him with his, like, spinning solo almost, like a Uranagi through the table, but the table doesn't break, so it makes it look so much more brutal. And then we had Jacob standing tall, he signs the contract, and he's like, I'll see you at Backlash, but he doesn't actually say that. But yeah, a really interesting way to end the night. Obviously Jacob standing tall, he stood tall basically every week, so I can just see Jacob losing in some sort of way at Backlash. But yeah, I'm happy to see that they're really pushing Jacob Fatu, because I always have liked Jacob Fatu, but I'm going to say that he is going to probably lose at Backlash because of how heavily he is getting the upper hand on Roman. Roman's going to pull something out at Backlash that we haven't seen in a while. But that is it for my Raw review, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Some of my opinions, maybe some controversial ones, but yeah, that is it. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and yeah, that is it. Route 2 and I'm out.